So hello everyone and welcome back to another video. And in this video, I recorded a podcast with Mr. Samyak Sahu. He's a associate product manager at Atlassian. ठीक है. So he is from BITS Pilani only, but getting into an engineering degree to a management role that is also a senior one as a straight out of college fresher is a very big thing. ठीक है. So I recorded a podcast with him and obviously salary वाला question भी था उधर. So let's get to the okay. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. And in this episode, we have Samyak with us, who got into project management straight out of college, which is a difficult thing to do. So Samyak, what is your introduction? How would you like to give your introduction to the audiences?
So, hey everyone, my name is Samyak, and currently I'm working as an associate product manager at Atlassian, which is a B2B SaaS company and has built certain products such as Jira, Confluence, Trello, to name a few. I'm a recent grad from BITS Pilani, and I've done a major in electrical and electronics engineering and a minor in finance. Uh, During my time in college, I was also involved with a few early stage startups as a PM intern, and yeah, I was involved with a bit of things on the robotics front as well during my time in
Okay.
college, and yeah, and then outside of work, I love to play music, sing, as well as read a lot and blog. So yeah, those are the things which I do outside of work. But yeah, like super excited to be here and answer some of the questions that people might have around PM.
Yeah, sure. So, like, what was the tech stack that you learned? So, the PM do PM requires any tech stack to work with or anything, something like that?
So to be honest, you don't really need a tech stack in particular to get into PM and even function as a PM for that matter. You develop a stack of yours as you progress. So, in fact, Atlassian has a blog on it, which
Okay.
covers, a PM stack, what it might include, what it might not include. It really depends on what kind of role you're in and what are the tools that you're working with, the type of teams that you're working with, whether it's a tech heavy product or something more consumer centric. Uh, so that is there. But like during my time in college, since I was exploring a lot of different domains before getting into PM, I started out with the software engineering side of things like every other fresher. So I started with C++ for some problem solving on Project Euler, and then also explored the hardware engineering side of things. Since I was involved in the robotics club of my college, I worked with some systems on Arduino and
Okay.
MicroPython as well. And yeah, and then after that, I tried out a bit of computer vision as well. Worked in Python, OpenCV, and TensorFlow. So some libraries like that, a bit on some web apps as well on Django and Flux. So yeah, I've done a bit of those things, but I don't think that they really translate well towards a PM kind of a trajectory. I'm not using any of those tools as of yet. But yeah, having some background, some technical background really helps you when you're talking to engineers for that matter. And yeah, I think as an engineer, you are expected to have some technical know-how.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question would be like, why and how did you get into a management role than a technical role? Like, what was different in getting a management role as compared to a technical role?
Here, I would say that PM is not exactly a management role, despite the name management being attached to the end of it. I still think it's very much a technical role, and it very much involves you basically understanding the business impact of the tech solutions that your team creates. So, but yeah, I get your question. By a technical role, you would mean something more along the lines of SGs, right?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
yeah, engineers. Yeah. So, uh, I think for that, I'll have to wind back the clock to my second year in college when I was working as a hardware engineer in my robotics team. Uh, During that time, I was working on all things engineering, and at the same time, uh, I was given the responsibility of raising sponsorships for my robotics team.
Okay.
And in that process, I prepared a lot of executive summaries, pitch decks, etc. and just to pitch a lot of different stakeholders on why should they fund us for the big initiatives that we were about to take during that time. And when I developed those decks, I realized that maybe there are some things that uh, we are not doing the way we are telling them that like we are building A, but it does not solve the problem that we are actually intending.
Yeah.
Then I started thinking a lot in this direction, as in, uh, are the tech problem, are the solutions that are given to us, like, do they really translate to the problem at hand? Does it really solve the problem that we are intending to solve? Is And how can we measure it? How can we ensure whether a product is a success or not? Because during that time I also got obsessed with a lot of startups. I think that that was a time when a lot of startups were booming and coming in, and in a given domain you had 10 different competitors.
Okay.
And so I started looking at, like, of all these people who are here, what how many companies will actually succeed, and who are the products which stand out in this whole crowd. So I think I started looking at those aspects, and then I realized that maybe a lot of what we do as engineers, that does not really translate well when you take the product to the market.
Yeah.
And that's when and then I was exploring whether there was a domain which helped me understand that the impact of the tech solutions. I wanted to understand why were we building so and so feature, and instead of how or what we are building. So I think during that time, I think towards the end of my second year, I stumbled across product management. And when I think it was during a talk that we had in our college, and I had a big smile on my face when I realized, okay, this was something that I was looking for, but still I was not very sure of it. So I went to online forums, talked to a lot of people, my seniors and some other strangers on Reddit. Uh, got into PM cohots,
Yeah.
like learned all that I could to understand the role better, and then finally got to work in some startups as a PM intern in early stage companies, where you get a lot of exposure on a lot of different things that are going around. And I think during that time I realized that maybe PM is the role for me.
So you went for why, on rather than going for how, right? And
Yeah, so I started, I started questioning a lot of things during that time in general.
yeah.
I was also looking at, are there options outside of SG as well for engineers? If so, then why are not people going into those fields? Because I think when I started looking at PM, it was still very much a nascent field. And I think a few months in, it exploded all of a sudden. At that time, everyone knew what product management is, but a few months back, that was not the case. So yeah, and now I think there is a lot more awareness about PM. Still there is a gray area on what a PM product manager actually does, and whether or not can you become a PM right out of college. So those are the questions which I think still linger in the minds of
Yeah.
some people. But yeah, I think uh, to answer those questions for yourself, you need to get on the line and work, and get all the exposure that you can to understand whether or not it's a career option for you.
Yeah, so you talked about cohorts and stuff, like you went to cohorts to understand more about PM. How impactful was that?
Yeah, so I think it was pretty impactful in the sense that I got a clear idea on what can they expect me to do. And in fact, I think uh, I get this question a lot from juniors in my college as well, around whether NSG role is the role for them, or a PM role is the role for them.
Yeah.
I think one of the key things that you have to look at when you are doing this exercise is to understand, are you okay with the negative aspects of the role, right? And I think the cohorts allowed me to talk to a lot of PMs who talked about these things. They were very open about the good things as well as the bad things. So you can see, a PM is the CEO of a product, or whatever first people spread about PM. But at the end of the day, you need to be on your toes all the time. You need to get in a lot of meetings. People hate doing that. Even PMs who work, hate doing that. But
Yeah.
still, it's part of your job. You need to do that. You need to wear multiple hats. Uh, you'll be doing task A at a given time, and all of a sudden you need to context switch and do task B. And it all depends on, and if something goes wrong, then you are the first point of contact for any engineering squad. So those things do happen, and if you're okay with that, then go forward with it. And I was able to get that clarity by getting in the PM cohort. And not only that, I also understood the basics of how to make a pitch deck, or uh, how what kinds of research do PMs carry out, and such things, such in details that uh, a cohort based course can
Yeah.
offer you at a much faster rate. So you don't really have to work, but still you get some experience. But yeah, to get some full-fledged experience, you need to work. But before that, I think cohorts can be helpful.
Yeah. So
And
cohort
they also
really.
help with exposing your profiles. That is also one
Yeah.
big plus.
So like you can definitely write that down in your resume as well that you attended this cohort.
You can do that, but I think much more than that, what matters in the end is your experience. What are the companies that you work with, and it all reflects in your interviews. If you have done something good in your interviews, like if you have done something good in the past, it will reflect in your interviews.
Yeah.
If you have good communication skill, it will reflect in your interviews. So you don't really have to write that down, and I don't think that writing down that you were part of a cohort makes a lot of sense in today's day and age, especially where you have too many cohorts competing
Yeah.
amongst each other. It's also there. But yeah, like getting into a cohort also helps you find people who are like interested, as much interested in PM as you are. And I think I also made a lot of friends in that process. I was able to connect with a lot of people, and I'm friends with them till date. We talk regularly on what our work is like, because you don't get a lot of product obsessed people in college, in a college where people are preparing for software roles. So this cohort also helps you get in that group, that you start thinking in ways in which your peers are thinking, and you start observing a lot more things. When you use an app, you'll start noticing the tiny details, and you'll
Yeah.
discuss them. We'll have a forum to discuss those nitty gritties, and it's pretty fun, and it feels like you are a part of something, and you're not alone in your journey.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so what has been the total experience of being a associate product manager at Atlassian specific?
Specifically at Atlassian, so first of all, it has not been a lot of time. I think it has only been 4 months since I've joined Atlassian. But yeah, so far it has been a steep learning curve, but at the same time, it has been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of firsts. The first time I'm pitching something to senior leadership, the first time I'm
Yeah.
attending a session where developers are getting crazy over deadlines, and some experiences that really stand, like they stay with you for a long time. I was able to experience all of that. And Atlassian being the company, you know it's such a culture focused company, and it's such a great place to work at. The first thing is that you are in the company of some of the brightest minds out there in PM,
Yeah.
some of the most experienced folks. I regularly talk to folks who are like decades ahead of me in terms of experience and exposure. They have had startups of their own.
Yeah.
They have had like work experience in the biggest companies that you can think of. And yeah, so learning from them firsthand is obviously quite an experience. And outside of that, also, I think um, you get to work at big problems, and those problems have an impact. You know that
Yeah.
if your team screws up, that can impact maybe thousands of dollars of revenue, or even worse, millions of dollars of revenue,
Yeah.
because it's high scale thing. um, And yeah, but yeah, outside of that, Atlassian is a very culture focused company, and it preserves the chill in its employees. It has a lot of perks, so
Yeah, the
you are.
best perks I could ever find. Atlassian has the best perks. I know for that.
Yeah, definitely. So that is also there. And I think Atlassian is handling the remote work situation better than most of the companies out there, because Atlassian has declared itself to be remote first now. And even though the office is beautiful, you can work from anywhere
Place
you
you
want.
like.
What you need is a laptop. And they have been very accommodative about it as well. They understand that outside of work you also have a life which you have to
Yeah,
take care of. They're at home, there are a lot of disturbances, there are a lot of things that you might want to do, so you can work around those obligations or hobbies, or in a very friendly way, so you can
yeah,
be very transparent about what you do outside of work, and the people at the company will accommodate to your interests and to your preferences.
Okay. So one of the major questions that really arise to a lot of people is that for freshers mainly, you were able to grab a project management role. It's a senior role that comes after some few years of experience. What would be the exact roadmap to get it as a fresher? Because to be honest, I also thought that like I have to get an MBA to get started into all of this. So as a fresher, straight out of college, doing BTech, like what would be the exact roadmap to do it?
Yeah, so first of all, project management is different from product. Just to be clear on
project
that,
management.
because
Yeah.
yeah. Because project management involves, I think, a different set of capabilities. Yeah, it involves you to have I guess, a PMP certification, something of that sort. I'm not really sure
Okay.
about that. So you need some work ex, you need some exposure as an engineering manager as well. It happens, like some people have that background. But yeah, as a PM, you it's still good if you have some work ex on your resume, but it's still definitely not important. Especially in APM programs, more and more companies are opening themselves to freshers who are straight out of college, uh, and this involves freshers from MBA as well as from BTech. So
Okay.
that is there. It is expected that you have a technical background, though, even if you are an MBA grad, because you will be working in a tech company with a lot of people who are working with tech, on tech with you. Uh, so if we talk about the roadmap, I wish I had a definitive answer to it, but there is no clear way, according to me, to get into PM, because PMs come from all different kinds of backgrounds. Like outside of India, you can see people coming from science-based backgrounds, even humanities or
Yeah.
law-based backgrounds. Designers get into PM. So there are a lot of people who get into PM. So uh, if I talk about the roadmap specifically, if I would say that you should take a lot of initiatives. You should have things on your resume which make you stand out as a good candidate. Basically, you don't need to have like proficiency in some hard skill or the other. You don't need to be an expert on code forces or something of that sort. You can do away with them, with those things. But if you have worked on some big initiatives, if you have worked on projects, if you are part of NGOs, and if you have led teams, that really shows that you can do the same when you come to the organization. Since you'll be interacting with a lot of folks, a lot of stakeholders, uh, it becomes important for you to have good communication skills as well. So anything which helps you develop that can help. So I would say uh, build a lot of cool products. Like if you know how to code, then it's great. You can just dive right in and maybe think about some problem and develop a small prototype for a solution, and you can pitch it to some other person. If it works, maybe you can start a company of your own, a small startup, while you are still in college. So that experience can help you a lot. Apart from that, being a part of product tear down contests, some contests which are held by MBA colleges
Okay.
mostly. those can help you. And outside of that, I guess reading a lot about tech in general and writing about products, that helps you as well. So yeah, I guess writing is something that I would definitely recommend. If you cannot do anything, then definitely write, because that helps you, clarify your thought on a lot of things, and it helps you make pitch decks better. It helps you communicate your ideas more clearly. So that is something that you can definitely do. So I think, all in all, if there's one way to get into PM, if I would say that's one way, I would say build stuff, build cool shit that you want to build, and don't be restricted with according to a certain roadmap. If you are part of a cohort, that doesn't mean you can't do some side project. uh, you know Team up with people, make teams, and just get in. uh, Building stuff, I guess, is the easiest way to understand the nuances of product management. It's the best way to understand how customers function, how they react to your products, how, whether they like it or they don't. And at the same time, it helps you understand the process of building a product, getting it from the ideation stage to getting it to launch, which is basically what PMs do.
PMs too.
uh, the best way to get into PM is to be a PM. I would say, uh, be a PM in any capacity that you can.
Okay, so it's more about getting into PM, like just keep on trying and trying and trying until you get the success, right? It's more about that as compared to following something specific.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that. At the same time, you should also look at where does your heart lie. Like, sometimes, people get fascinated by the buzzword, but the reality is that there are negative aspects to a PM role as well, just like any other job, right?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, it's just a role, and will be only a part of the company. You won't be the CEO of the company right away, or you won't be handling a product in its entirety,
yeah,
right? The head of the product or the CPO would be taking care of that. So you'll be handling a small aspect. So are you like customer obsessed? Can you get into those details? Do you feel that you need to validate your solutions? Are you a big believer in data driven decisions?
like
If
feedback oriented.
Yeah, and like, do you know how to do you know how to distinguish that line between being data focused and being more of an intuition focused guy? Sometimes you don't have the necessary data to make a conclusion. In that case, what would you do? You'll go by some qualitative analysis, you'll go by competitor analysis. So if you love talking about products, if you love everything about tech in general, I would say you'll eventually get there. You'll find your own way. But yeah, don't restrict yourself from building cool shit that works. If you can get those projects in your resume, I think that would be the biggest value addition.
Okay. Uh, so like this is something out of the syllabus question. Like, what are the three pros and cons that you would like to mention about a PM?
Three pros and cons. Yeah. So pro number one would be that you get a lot of context on how the company is operating. As a software development engineer, you are very focused on the details and mainly the implementation details. But as a PM, you not only look at those things, but you also look at how a uh, certain feature ties back to a business goal.
Yeah,
How like how will customers receive this? How will the senior leadership receive this? What is their plan? What are they trying to do? So you get an insight, and that is pretty exciting, in my opinion. That is the first pro. The second pro is that uh, you get a lot of ownership, which can be both a good and a bad thing. You can put it in a pros bucket. You could also might as well place it in a cons bucket, because you need to take initiatives on your own. You need to, like, since you are only responsible for a certain feature, a certain
yeah,
aspect of a product, you will be supposed to nail it down towards the finest detail. So
yeah,
to make sure it happens, you need to take a lot of initiatives from your side. You need to conduct a lot of experiments. You'll have to talk to a lot of users, and you'll have to make sure that the team is shipping bug-free code. There's no issue which is conflicting with some other team, right? You will be talking to teams outside of the team that you're working in. So you get a chance to do all of that. I think that's a great pro. You get a lot of exposure basically. I think PM is all about getting as much exposure as possible. The more exposure you have, the better you can solve the problems that are pertinent in your team. uh, Also, I would say that a PM's career trajectory is as open-ended as you can think of. So, like, exit options from PM are also great.
Yeah,
You might as well become a PM at some other company. You can also get into VC. You can also get into some other role, something else
yeah.
entirely.
It's more about
And
consulting as well.
uh, yeah, I mean the biggest pro of them all would be like that you develop certain frameworks of thinking about things. In fact, I can, apply some frameworks, some ways of looking at things in my day-to-day life as well. So, it teaches you a lot about making good decisions. Like, how can you avoid making stupid decisions in your day-to-day lives? That is something which is very much a part of an PM role.
Okay,
So, if you know how to evaluate your decisions, if you know how to use the laws of probability in your favor, even if you are selecting a route to go to some place, I think that helps you a lot. That really helps you a lot in no matter in whichever role you are in. So that's why you have so many exit options, because you can do anything after you are a PM.
yeah,
That is also, if you talk about cons would be that you are supposed to multitask at times. You are supposed to be on your toes all the time. Sometimes you need to like talk to a lot of developers, and then things don't move. You talk to other teams, that happens. So it might fry your brain a bit. That is a con. The other con would be that uh, you might have to attend a lot of meetings, especially in the remote environment. There can be a lot of Zoom fatigue. So it's up to you. How do you navigate around that? How much async communication your team uses versus how much synchronous communication your team uses. So at Atlassian, we have a habit of keeping the documentation of everything that we do, so
mm,
that anyone who has not come to the meeting can also have context on what has happened over the months. So that
okay,
is but that could be one con, especially in a remote work based environment. Thirdly, it might feel that you're not doing anything because you don't have a lot of hard skills to talk about. It's not that you're shipping code or you are like building stuff. You are throwing wireframe after wireframe. That is not the case. Sometimes work moves slowly, but sometimes it can move quickly as well. So the pace of progress does not really depend on your individual progress. So your progress is team's progress basically,
okay,
right? You uh, you can think of yourself as the captain of the ship, and but your individual wins might not matter as much as the team's wins. So that would be a pro as well as a con.
yeah,
But I would like to place it in the cons bucket because sometimes there are things which are out of your control, but you need to take agency for them as well, because at the end of the day, it's the product that matters the most.
okay. Uh,
So like it's just a $1 million question for a lot of people. Like what is the exact salary like for product managers in general? Not at Atlassian. I know you can't reveal that, but what is the general salary for product managers?
in India,
In India, so I would say overall in India, the uh, compensation for PM roles has been getting better and better with every single year. Uh, the main reason behind it is that now we have a lot of competition in the tech space. You are seeing so many startups coming in
yeah,
with so many
well-funded
different
startups and stuff.
products, right? Especially in industries like fintech or industries like it could be anything. You need PMs
Yeah,
because you want to find product market fit as quickly as possible. So that's why the demand is increasing, and so is the compensation. If I talk about compensation, it could vary anywhere between, it depends on the company that you're in. Maybe an early stage startup might offer
Yeah,
you.
Let's talk about the tier one companies. Like, what would be the tier one companies?
paying.
Uh, Again, it depends. It the CTC might vary greatly. It could vary. It could be something as low as 15. It could be something as high as 30, 35, 40,
Okay.
depending on the role that you're in,
For a
depending on the
freshers,
company
right?
you're. Yeah, it could be like this could be the case for freshers, and it's increasing year after year. So the scene today was is very different from what it was a year ago.
Yeah.
So that is an APM's compensation. I don't think you should expect anything north of 40 at the time. But again, it really depends. I'm really not I don't have the data to back this up. But like you can put the ballpark figure somewhere around 20 to 40 if you may, like if you
Yeah.
want to, but it could be less than that, it could be more than that. And CTC has its own components, it has its own breakdown.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and yeah, so like there could be some variable, like outside of base, that there could be some things that might appeal you more in terms of ESOPs or other forms of compensation. But you should do your math on that. But all I would say is that it's very much equivalent to a software engineer at this point. Uh, Maybe it was not that way 2 3 years ago, but it is now. Like PMs and SGs are taken on a similar pay scale. So expect the compensation to be similar to uh,
SD.
the SG compensation in a given company.
Okay. Uh, and like it is one of the most important questions for a employee in today's time. Like, what has been the work-life balance as compared to an SD for a product manager? Is it hard? Is it easy or what?
Uh, I would say it again depends largely on the company. Okay. An SG's work-life balance very depending on the company that they're working in. It could be, some company can make you work for like 6 days a week, and a lot more. Maybe there's a startup that needs urgent work. But if I talk about Atlassian has strong emphasis on work-life balance,
Yeah.
and that's why you won't see PMs really tiring themselves off that often. If typically PMs have a work-life balance which is kind of similar to SGs, but it might happen, let's say 10% of the times, that you might be expected to work a bit more because some product launch deadline is approaching or something
Yeah.
urgent has come up. Maybe there is some issue for which uh, you might need to attend to some calls maybe late in the night. That could happen, but that is really something of chance, and it again depends on what seniority you're in. So if you're very senior, then you are expected to have a lot more responsibility on your shoulders, and as a result, you might face those issues. But when you are in an entry level role, I can say it for myself. My work life balance has been terrific, and I'm able to do work as well as enjoy my hobbies as well.
Oh,
And
great.
since remote work give you like it cuts off your time from commuting, it really helps when you want to spend your time with family or maybe pursue a hobby of your own. You can do that as a PM as well. But it again depends on the company.
So I hope you guys like this video, and as all videos देखने का, please subscribe to the channel, and I will meet you in the next one. Thank you very much.